Hey people, what is good, yo? Sword art, sword art. We have been given my predictions pretty much to the T, and I'm not really happy about it simply because I like the blonde Kimito. I thought he had a lot of potential to grow, but at the same time, he's such a young character. Like, sure, he was growing up very quickly in his world, but if you really want to be, if we ever told him how he came about and where he came from, he would be like, 7 days old, so it's pretty ridiculous to think about that, but at the same time, we get a good understanding of just how vulnerable he really was because with this girl having all of the things and bad, like they were all told about how bad she was, and the things that she's done. He still was very easily manipulated just because he's a part of the system. Everything that's been created here has some type of ties to her because of her authority. And that's only to mention that we know about the authority back when she was still um, early on and she was trying to first put her memories into someone else to gain the body or something along those lines. So when we find out that it doesn't really take much for these characters to practically, well, for her um, to try to take over somebody, it clear as day proves that the day old age that nobody in this world was supposed to become this strong unless they found out this like cheat, this way of breaking into the system or the way of gaining this knowledge of being stronger. So with all that being in her grasp, nobody had a chance against her in the case of like anyone that's been in this world since they were born shouldn't really have that good of defenses against someone with whatever she can do. So Kimito is really the best person for the job in this case, and seeing him with the dual sword this week after getting Alice up top, and he went higher than Yuja. Well, he didn't go higher than him, but he got up past the where the guy was turned into stone and pretty much had to turn around and see that everything that he and the blonde Kimito had gone through is almost in shackles because of um, whatever had occurred in the room when he meets up with her, and he doesn't even know that yet. So we pretty much just see that Alice and the guy who was the number one were very, very tight. Like it was kind of clear that they had a relationship, but you never knew. I never knew how strong and powerful it actually was until I saw this week's episode, and I was like, wow, like it's literally like she's losing a family member right now. That really sucks. So it was very powerful, and I think that his character as a whole should have had more. Like I wish he got a little bit more fleshed out. Just like their story if they had to, because even learning Alice's backstory through this disgusting, ugly blob monster, um, it was kind of like, it's kind of like, like I'd rather have heard it through someone else's eyes than this guy. But it makes sense that this was the guy that would have watched it all because he's a freak. So stuff like that makes sense in the sword art world. And overall, to know that this guy was trying to over 300 years help her open her that eye that was, I guess, being manipulated, he was glad to see that that was the case for her, that she didn't have to worry about that anymore. And that spoke a lot of volume to me overall for that character. Just seeing him being happy and trusting Kimito to take care of her too is really powerful stuff. But other than that, he's pretty much breaking away, and I was really hoping that he was going to just like break out and be like, haha, I'm good. Let's get it. I'm gonna help you fight this final fight as long as I can. But as you can see, he already kind of disobeyed one rule and was turned into stone. So I'm pretty sure those stone treatments are not very, you can't go back on it unless get it taken care of from the headmaster or something along those lines. I wouldn't be surprised. But what we see in this week truly is what I like to call talk no jutsu. Like, there was so much talking in this episode that it literally left off with like the cliffhanger of a fight. Like, a fight was the biggest thing that was going to happen. Like, I was like, wow, they really went there and just kind of stalled this whole episode. That was interesting. Um, Literally seeing Alice and Kimito, you know, supposedly climb up the wall, and we didn't see any of that, to just get them talking to people was an interesting choice, in my opinion. I mean, I understand it because now we have a lot better understanding of a lot of people's dispositions, like the uncle, for instance, with Alice, and that he was doing something this whole time, and he wasn't just like uh, saying, "Oh yeah, this is enjoying it and saying it's good or that she should abide by it 100%." But nonetheless, he was teaching her things that she hopefully can remember even after she gets her overall memory back, or however it works whenever they win this whole thing. Hopefully she gets to remember those lessons that she was taught, because it seems really important to her. So when they do stuff like that in shows, I really appreciate it. I just honestly wanted that guy to break out, man. It sucks. But another way of showing that this show is just really pulling out heartstrings is bringing out Blonde Kimito and his new freaking armor that looks super dope. You want to be like, oh man, you look sick, but you're like, oh, he's a total brainwashed zombie now. That sucks, man. Like, he's like, do you even know who this is? Don't you care about Alice? He's like, I do not, and I do not care to know who you are. I was like, well, pull out the sword. He's like, I could have sworn he had like a new sword or something, man. But come to find out, the guy pretty much is harnessed the ability to have any way, shape, or form of his sword coming back to him, seemingly, and easily takes it away from Kimito, which hurt my heart even break out of the stone, whatever, or them being able to help him. Is Kimito, they compliment him saying he looks good with two swords. He looks like that's normal. And he's like, thanks, like, I tried my best. And then they just take it away from him. It was like, you dirty, dirty show. That is some fourth wall breaking stuff, in my opinion. That was salty, bro. They just ripped the swords away from us as soon as we get on. I was mad. But overall, this episode was pretty enlightening. Like I said, there's a lot to get out in the open, I feel like. And with the show, I think being like, I don't think it's more than 28, 25 episodes. We're getting to that point where it's about to be all solved and stuff, but we still didn't really hear anything about Kimito's condition. But I think with how much he's progressed through this story and how much he's become as a person with his buddy, or like his brother pretty much, um, I think that's all going to transfer back to his original body, thus making him, still a swordsman, still, very handy in games for some reason, and even in some real life situations, stuff like that. So I honestly don't feel like we got a whole lot of other stuff that I didn't really guess was coming, because I saw, I overall saw that we were probably going to get whatchamacallit, we are going to get more information as to why uh, Alice was picked, but seemingly that didn't happen. But we did learn that Alice definitely was trying her best to keep her memories and didn't want anything changed about her. But it's still, there. We find out that there was forcing synthesizing. So I would imagine if she didn't go through with it, she wouldn't even be alive either. If they couldn't force it on her, they probably would have just been like, well, that sucks. You were this close to being the best, and now we gotta kill you. So that, or just the notion that we don't really have an explanation on the exact way Blonde Kimito has been taken over. He might have just been taken over in a new matter, but she could have also put the chip in his forehead too. So that's always up in the air for when this episode ends, to be honest. I don't really know if that's where they're gonna go with it, because if you think about it, if he got the chip in his head, that definitely in a bad spot, because unless he has the dagger on his person, I don't think we'll be seeing him being capable of using it. He doesn't have anything really to stop the people from, you know, pretty much either he doesn't have anything to stop them in the sense of like the mind to literally make sure they're not being brainwashed and stuff, and they don't have anything to stop them uh in the slightest when it comes down to the fight. They're gonna have to literally fight and beat out this character, Blonde Kimito, and somehow beat him without killing him. And he doesn't want to know anything about Kimito or Alice, so that means he gets to fight with full, volition and bloodlust, and that's going to be very hard to counter when you don't want to take the guy out. Not to mention, he took his sword back, which can freeze ridiculous amounts of area space, and that's not to mention if he got a power buff from just becoming the side witch's, plaything or whatever he is now to her. He might be her wife or husband, or I don't know, man. He's definitely the wife because she wears the pants, even though she don't wear pants. We are gonna have to see one of the most epic battles probably in the show, or this is just the teaser. This is just the little appetizer. So Kimito versus Blonde Kimito, I knew this could have happened, but I feel like whenever Kimito might get the upper hand or try to figure out how to get some memories back into this man's head, I don't think he got the cube in his head. I'm praying he didn't, because that would be a lot harder to get rid of. But if the show wants to be dramatic, they definitely are going to put the triangle thing in his head. And we saw that he didn't take the one out of Alice, and her eye popped, so maybe she put another eyeball in him that has the same type of code again, and he has to go through that. Not sure, but we will see. I hope you guys enjoyed. Sorry these loading screens are straight out of the devil's what. But I will definitely have to talk to you guys in the next one. Radiant is not anywhere to be found, so I am actually freaking out that I don't have that to, be able to talk about as well. I miss me some Radiant already, guys. I'm not gonna lie. But I will be dropping Fairy Tail later today, so if you are excited about that, make sure you drop a like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell, because Fairy Tail is about to be super hype. A lot of people getting into some ridiculously hype fights, so can't wait to talk to you guys then. Alright, later, my anime people. Peace!